If you use any of these devices, you need to realize that what you communicate is available worldwide. Anything you put out on the internet never ever disappears. Biggest problem is you have the social networks and you have our youngsters doing things they should not be doing, and it comes back later in life to haunt them. You hear about it every single day. If you receive an email and it has a link in it to a website or a link where they tell you get to see a video that you have to absolutely see, that means throw it in the garbage. If you didn't expect it, didn't know something was coming, regardless of how enticing it is, it's going to wind up probably infecting you, possibly stealing your identity, doing all kinds of nasty things. Okay, it is something you need to learn to avoid. Judging by the security on your site, I'm guessing you also leave a key underneath the doormat. We have to get more security conscious. If you have a GPS, your GPS has a home button where they expect you to put your home address in there so that no matter where you are, you could always find home. On my GPS, because I depend on that GPS, my home button is the police station nearest to my house. That way, if the guy steals my car, guess what? I make a phone call to the police department. Here's the description of the car. Expect the guy to get there because he's trying to rob my house. Okay, so never ever put your actual home address in your GPS for the home button. Something near, but something far enough away so that if they also got a hold of your garage door opener, it will not open your garage, because otherwise they still know, oh, it must be this house because the garage button worked. Like I said, I use the police station. If I get that close, I know where my house is. Installing programs on your computer should always be done using the custom installation method. Custom means you get to see what's being installed, where it's being installed, and best of all, you get to uncheck the things you don't want installed. If you always use a default method, which means hurry up, put this program on my computer so I can use it, you also get all the add-ons that they throw in with that program. Program may be perfect, but the add-ons certainly are not. And if you use a default, you can wind up with a browser totally loaded with toolbars. So it's up to you to make sure that those things that are pre-checked wind up getting unchecked. We read about a breach every single day. There's always a new one. This one was for customers of T-Mobile. And as you can see on here, what the customer gave up was their name, their address, their social security number, date of birth, ID numbers, passport information, driver's license, and military IDs. Okay, just about everything they need to get to your bank account or to impersonate you to start making new loans. Both T-Mobile and Experian made credit monitoring available for 2 years for their customers. The problem is that Experian happens to be T-Mobile or vice versa. It's the same company, okay? So they already got hacked once and now I'm supposed to trust them to protect me. Doesn't make sense. How many of you use LifeLock? I don't know if you realize, but they just paid out a $100 million fine to the Federal Trade Commission because the advertisement, they make you think they're going to 100% protect you against identity theft. Nobody can guarantee that. Absolutely no one. In essence, part of what you pay for each month is an insurance policy, so that if your identity is stolen, that insurance policy would pay to recoup your identity theft. You can also get that same help to recoup after the fact without having to pay anything from idtheftcenter.org. 8 signs that someone has probably stolen your identity. The bank account shows withdrawals that you've never made. You don't get your bills at home anymore. You still get all the junk mail, but the actual mail stops coming to your house. Your checks are being refused by merchants. You receive calls from debt collectors about loans that you've never made. Your credit report contains unfamiliar charges and loans. It's because you didn't set it up, somebody else did. You're the thief who stole your identity. You receive bills from medical providers for office visits and probably doctors you've never heard of. You can't get health insurance coverage because they tell you you have a disease that you know you do not have. You get a notice from the IRS that you filed more than one tax return. They never tell you you have more than one refund coming. But that's a sure tip-off. If you filed one tax return and IRS tells you there are several, that means somebody else is impersonating you. That means they've also already probably made loans and given you all kinds of hassles with your credit. Again, if this happens to you or you know a friend that this has happened to, contact the folks at idtheftcenter.org. It's a nonprofit. They don't charge for their services. The only thing they do is help you recoup if your identity was stolen. For those of you that use even the free version of Avast, you are less likely to become a candidate of identity theft, but no one can guarantee that it will not happen to you. It can happen to anyone. By law, we are each entitled once per year to a free credit report from each of the 3 major credit reporting companies. And if you play it smart, then you won't ask for one in January from all 3 because they will all give you the same information. You'll stagger your request. January, get one from Equifax. In May, get it from Experian. And in August, get a report from TransUnion. That way, every 4 months, you get a fresh report of your credit standing. Okay, so you're always on top of it. Chat rooms. It's big, it's ugly, and the little girl thinks she's talking to a 14-year-old health fanatic. Okay? There is no way when you're on the chat room to tell who is at the other end. So be very, very careful. Unless you are in a chat room or Skype or whatever with your family and your friends, the open chats, this is what you're liable to wind up being in contact with. Not my idea of a hot date. Protecting your computers is very easy. You only need to remember one name, Avast. Whether you have a Windows machine or you have a Mac, one product will protect either or both. And if you have a Mac and you run Parallels so that you also have access to Windows, you actually need to install the program twice. Once on the Mac side and once on the Windows side. The free version of Avast is what I have used since 2003. Back then I used Norton, or Norton used my computer and occasionally gave me access. I discovered Avast and it's been on that system ever since. It is very light on system resources and it's kept my system safe since then. The 20 different things that are included in the free version of Avast, protection in free is exactly the same as the protection in the paid. What you don't get in the free version, for one thing, is no firewall. I don't need a firewall. I'm running Windows 10. It's got a built-in excellent firewall. So does Windows 8 and so does Windows 7. So why should I have to pay for it? My job here is not to sell you the product. My job is to persuade you to use the free version of Avast to keep your computer as safe as mine is. And if I do the job properly, then when we're finished here, you can bring me your credit card and I'll sell you the free version. This compares Avast Free to its free competitors, Avira, Microsoft, and AVG. There used to be strictly Essentials, that's what it was called, and that worked for Windows 7, for Windows 8. Now it's called Defender if you're running Windows 10. And Defender is nothing more than a combination of Defender and Security Essentials in one package. I personally think it was a good move for Windows to automatically put it on all computers. That way those that don't have any protection at least have something, okay? When you install Avast, you just have to install the program. It will automatically deactivate Defender. Anything else you may have, if you want to change over, you need to totally remove what you currently have before you can install Avast or any other antivirus program. I share a link at the end of this with the information to make that nice and easy, step by step. That link also shares all the programs we're talking about, so you don't have to write everything down, and lots of other goodies. Avast now makes protection available totally free of charge to businesses, small and medium-sized businesses. It used to be in the old days that you had to be a private individual in order to use the free version of Avast. This takes it one step higher, now makes it available to businesses, also totally free of charge. Since I use the free version of Avast, I add additional programs. They don't come from Avast. These are programs that you can download to enhance the security on your system. It's called layered protection. Please remember that 90% of all security incidents are caused by PDAC and ID10T errors. If you weren't sitting in front of that computer, 90% of the infections would never happen because you can't push that button to make them come to you, okay? So we are our computer's biggest enemy because the people that send you this nasty stuff have become very good at manipulating your want to touch and download what you should not have touched in the first place. So before you think something is so enticing that you can't bypass it, think twice before you click on that link. And then if you're still not 100% sure, do some research. Google is a great little toy. You can search for almost anything and it will give you an answer. Well, you can always call on Alexa, right? That also works. When the man calls you and says, "I'm from Microsoft, we've discovered a virus on your computer. We want to help you clean it up, totally free of charge because you're infecting the rest of our customers." He is not from Microsoft. You can get the same calls from your internet service provider, supposedly, the whatever security company you use to protect your house. These are all scams. They will never ever call you to tell you that there's infection on your computer because they haven't got a clue what you have on your computer. Remember, it's a phone call. Your antivirus program will not protect you against it. But you have the ultimate control. If it's a phone call, you picked it up. If you don't like what you hear on the other end, hang it up. That's the end of the call. And that's the end of a possibility of somebody scamming you. It's that simple. If you have a USB device that you plug into your computer, you should have McShield installed on your computer. Anytime anything gets plugged into the computer, McShield automatically checks it to make sure there's nothing malicious on that external device. The first program I install on any new computer is called Unchecky. Its job is just exactly what its title is. Its job is to uncheck the pre-checked items that you don't want on your computer to start off with. When you do your updates for Flash, players and all of that stuff, they usually have a pre-checked installation for the Ask toolbar. Well, if you have this on your computer, it will automatically advise you of the fact that it's unchecked, that pre-checked item, and it's not going to get to your computer. Okay? That's what it does. Even if you religiously use a custom install, some of these programs are worded in such ways that you think you ought to leave it checked, or maybe you ought to uncheck. You really don't know which is the better of the two. Unchecky will let you know when something nasty is going to get installed, and it will uncheck it for you. Should you decide, even because if you've gotten the advice, you can always override it, but it keeps your computer safe. Malwarebytes, an excellent tool regardless of whose antivirus program you happen to be using. It is a companion to your antivirus program. CCleaner. I'm sure everybody in here knows what it is. Designed to clean up the garbage left behind when you browse the internet or when you use any of the programs on your computer. The only advice I'll give you is the registry cleaner that's built into CCleaner, leave it alone. Don't use it. No such thing as a one-button fix-all program. If you use the registry cleaner because you'd like to save some time in booting, we're talking about saving millions of a second. So if saving 10 millionths of a second is worth taking a chance on not being able to boot your computer at all, then be my guest. I don't ever use a tool to clean the registry or to speed up my computer. The only exception to that is Microsoft actually makes a tool designed to speed up, and it goes through and analyzes the order in which things start. It does all kinds of things, okay? If you're interested, if you go to my blog, you'll find step-by-step instructions, but it's a download that you have to do, and then you have to run the program. It goes through 7 reboots, and by the time you're finished, you will actually notice a difference in the speed of how the computer boots up, how it shuts down, and how it operates. Wind Patrol monitors your system for changes. If it pops up and tells you something wants to run and you don't recognize it, use your search engine. Make sure that the majority of the reviews are favorable. If not, do not allow the program to run, and uninstall it because it is already on your computer. It also monitors the registry to make sure some of the newer infections never get a foothold in the registry. Passwords. No, password is not an acceptable password. Neither is your date of birth, when you got married, none of that is acceptable. A strong password is made up of a combination of small letters, capital letters, numbers, symbols, and the longer you make it, the stronger it is. My recommendation is that you use a password manager. I've used LastPass since it first came on the scene. It has always done an excellent job. If you're using Avast, even the free version, they now have a password manager built right into the program. If you use a password manager, the only password you ever need to remember is the one to get to the password manager. After that, it can generate passwords, nice and strong ones. It will remember your passwords, and it can automatically fill them in for any site that requires a username and password. 10 line for the next generation. You can't see, can you? That's what we got. Tablets and smartphones are no different than your computer. They communicate with the outside world. You install apps. You do your banking and shopping with those devices, and they need to be protected the same way as your computer. Many people don't treat them like computers. That's why you now have more than 33 million infected devices out there. They think they're toys. My smartphone is actually smarter than my laptop. But I prefer my laptop because I can see what's going on the laptop. I can't always see what's happening on the smartphone. So we went through all of this to make sure this is going to work. And then, oh, wait, what did it do? Go to sleep?
We know that Avast protects your computer, but what if all those threats could follow you wherever you go? Well, Avast will be there ahead of them, because Avast is now available for your mobile device, and it can do all these things for you. Of course, there's real-time protection against infected apps and phishing websites, but we've also added really cool anti-theft protection. So if you lose your phone, you can easily find it wherever it is. If some monkey steals your phone, you can remotely listen to the thieves' conversation. And if the monkey is really clever and tries to change the SIM card, you will immediately be notified what the new number is. And for good measure, you can remotely set off the siren. This phone has been lost or stolen. More on avast.com/Android.
The only one who can start that siren is you. And the only one who can shut it off is you. So if someone steals your phone, that's their new hit parade, because that's the only thing they're going to hear out of that smartphone or the tablet. It works on, this is designed for an Android, okay? Avast is not yet ready for an antivirus program for those of you that have an iPhone or an iPad. What we do have available for those of you that have an iPhone and an iPad is called a VPN, Virtual Private Network, totally free of charge. Since we have a free antivirus available for those that have the Android device, we have a paid version available of a VPN for the Android device. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can only get a free version. There is no paid version. So there are advantages regardless of which particular operating system or type of phone you have. A virtual private network encrypts all the information that you want to send to someplace before it leaves your phone and doesn't get unencrypted until it gets to its final destination. Therefore, if you're at McDonald's or Starbucks and you're doing something that you really shouldn't be doing in one of those places, if the information gets intercepted, it will have been totally encrypted, and since the ones doing the interception don't have the key to unencrypt it, they're getting garbage. Okay? Nothing that they can ever use for anything. The other nice thing a VPN can do, some places have restrictions on the movies that you can see. If you're in the US and the movie is restricted to only be viewed to those in Great Britain, that's fine, a VPN. Pick a place in London. And now you are in London, and of course the restriction is lifted. That's the other thing a VPN can do. For those of you that have an iOS device, since Avast isn't yet ready with an antivirus, I suggest you install Lookout. I've been told it's a very good product. I don't own an iOS device, so I have never tested it myself. Avast makes its corporate version available totally free of charge to schools, libraries, and colleges. The only thing they need to do is go to that website, fill out a very simple application, and the license becomes theirs. One license covers 30,000 computers. It's designed for the IT department to administer and take care of all the computers throughout the entire school district. It is not the product you and I will ever use. And the only ones who get it free are those involved in education or that are 501c3 nonprofit corporations. Everybody else needs to pay for that product. This is also one of the money makers for Avast. The other way that Avast makes money, those that try the free version, somewhere along the line will try a paid version. And that statistic is between 3 and 15%, and 3 to 15% of 230 million users worldwide is no longer pocket change, okay? So yes, Avast gives lots and lots of stuff away, but they still make a very healthy living. I don't know of anybody who wants to work for nothing. I do, but I get my expenses paid. I actually do not work for Avast itself. I've been part of their customer support forum since 2004. In 2010, they asked me if I wanted to do presentations like now in front of computer users. And the arrangement we reached, the second I leave home until I get back, they get to pay all of my expenses. If I need help, my wife goes with me. They need to pay all of her expenses. January 5th, FACUG had a cruise, Technology at Sea. I had a presentation to do. My wife needed to assist me, and my company, Avast, needed to pay the bill. Okay? So I don't work for them, I don't get a salary, but I have free vacations. That's the way I look at it. I happen to enjoy talking to people. Some people will probably get scared in their pants if they had to talk. On the 18th, one of your clubs, there were over 300 people in the audience. That was, for the last 5.5 years that I've been doing this, the largest audience. Arizona still has by far the greatest number of clubs and a lot more attended clubs. I don't know why. Every place else it seems to be shrinking in most instances. Maybe it's because we don't have enough young blood in the club. That could be one of the possibilities. Unfortunately, if you don't replace old with new, eventually there'll be no more old left. So, okay. Why won't my power strip turn on? I've got everything plugged in. It's also called a loop back. My internet was down for 5 minutes, so I decided to go downstairs and talk to my relatives in person. They actually turn out to be nice people. Since everything's done with texting nowadays, people don't talk together like they used to. Don't play board games anymore like we used to. That's one of the things we've lost. Wife texts husband on a cold winter morning. Windows frozen, won't open. Husband texts back. Gently pour some lukewarm water over it. Gently tap the edges with a hammer. Wife texts back. Computer's really messed up now. If you learned something today, please let Gracie at Avast know about it. If you didn't like the presentation, you may also tell her that. These presentations continue only because Avast is made aware of the fact that they're doing some good. The second that stops, I won't be here anymore, because there's no way in the world I can afford to pay for my own tours all over the country. That's not something that's in the budget for somebody that's on Social Security. I recently spoke to Avast about how long they intend to continue with this, because this is now starting year 6, and they said, how much longer do you intend to be alive? Okay, so
Great.
And I enjoy doing this, and as long as physically I'm able to do this, I have no plans of stopping it. If you know of any other clubs, organizations, churches, synagogues, any group of computer users that would benefit from a presentation, contact me directly. There is never a charge for my services or a charge to the club. Avast pays the bills. I said I would share a link with you at the end of the presentation. That is the shortened link. Make sure the last two characters are a capital I and a capital Q. Unfortunately, the font in PowerPoint doesn't permit the capital I to look like an I. I use Google's service to shorten a link because Google, unlike all the other shortening services, actually checks the site you want to shorten for malicious code. So if there's something malicious on a website and you try to shorten it with Google, you'll never get the shortened link. So you have a choice. You can either copy that short link or its full, which is that on the bottom. Barry will be getting an email for me, a follow-up email, so if you either don't copy it correctly or didn't write it down at all and you still want it, I'm sure Barry will pass it along through the website. Anyone have any questions?
Yes. How long is that free Avast useful for, and you badger people like other companies do when they want you?
Will they ever ask you to upgrade? They sure will. Like I said, they're in business to make money. The guys that do all the work behind the scenes also like to bring home a paycheck. How pestering is not the word for it. An occasional pop-up and a simple click to close it back out, yes, that you will get. And how long is it free for? I've used it since 2003. I still have the free version on my computer.
When do they go to the paid version?
No, you have to, they will ask you if you want to go to it. And if you say, yes, upgrade me to a paid version, then of course that will happen.
And they never stop your free version?
No.
That's fantastic.
No.
One moment. Let's give Bob a big hand for a great
Thank you.